Welcome back to Under Our Skin. This is episode 3, and I'm so excited to have Lady Katlyne Louis joined with us today. She is a phenomenal woman. I want her to actually do her own intro today because I want it to be done right. And also, I just want to say, when I first met you, immediately when you told me your testimony, it transformed a lot for me. I think you don't realize, maybe you do realize the power in your testimony, but you don't fully understand what it does to people when we hear it. So I'm gonna allow you to introduce yourself. I just want you to let everyone know what it is that you do and the main thing that we're here to talk about.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Congratulations, episode 3. Thank you for allowing me to be here. So like she said, my name is Katlyne Louis. I go by Lady Kate or KDL. And my 9 to 5 is I am a community health worker at BMC in the psychiatry department. I'm the only one. And what I do, I lessen the barriers to provide services for people who are struggling with psychosis and other mental health conditions and illness. And I'm the founder of Réspire, which is a wellness retreat company where I teach women how to pause, how to breathe, and be present. I also sit on the board for the Department of Health. I sit on the Maternal Mortality Review Committee, where we come together, review cases, and try to find ideas, and also teach hospital how to lessen the barriers, because as we know, in the minority community, women are dying after childbirth, giving birth twice, even 3 times more than our counterpartners. So we form a committee where we just come together with different healthcare professionals on how to do things like workshops and sit with the doctors so we can talk about education, prevention, and so much more.
Because you're doing amazing work in the health space, and I want you to know that. I want to give you your flowers. I think it's so needed, and I think the Black community is finally getting to a place where we can recognize all the things that have been going wrong in the healthcare space, and being able to have people like you who are there to advocate for us on what our needs are, right? So I think that's super important, and I just pray that God continues to bless you on that. So like I said, one of the major things that took me aback is that you are a cancer survivor. And you also told me that everything shifted for you, when you started using food as medicine. So I just want you to take us back to that moment, like when you first found out about your diagnosis. Like, what was that like mentally for you? How was that journey?
So the journey I think it's one of the most challenging journey because my mother passed away due to breast cancer, and my aunt passed away due to cancer, and other 3 females in my family.
Yeah.
And so when I got that diagnosis, I was like, okay. But I would say it became a blessing in disguise because I was learning about resting. When I gave birth to my second son, Zion, I suffered from preeclampsia. And I was in the hospital for an additional 9 days. And the doctor was teaching me, you need to learn how to rest. You need to learn how to rest. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna rest. I'm Haitian. And it was such a challenging moment for me because I didn't know what rest was about. I thought it was just laying in the bed, but it's more than that. It's unplugging. It's understanding, being present. And so on the day of my resting day, I was like doing a little spa after meditation, and I felt a pain. And I contacted my doctor's office because she said, whenever you feel something, let us know. And so I did that, and she told me to go to urgent care, and I went to urgent care in Brookline, and they did all the tests, and they said, oh girl, you're fine. And I'm like, no, I wouldn't come here. So I had to advocate. I had to advocate for myself, and I was like, I'm telling you, I'm not well. And a nurse who looked like me said, hey, let's do an ultrasound. And I think from the ultrasound, they discovered 3 masses that were hiding in my milk ducts. And then immediately it was like, okay, we need a biopsy, blah, blah, blah. But when I saw it on the screen, I knew. I knew. And I'm just like, okay, how I'm gonna break it down to my husband, my children. I mean, my youngest didn't really know, she was a year and a half old. But my first son, you know, at that time, he was well aware because he was around when my mom passed. So they were very close, and he saw her health declining. So I felt like this would be a trigger, because even when I was telling him, he was like, Mom, like, I need you to fight this, you know, because he's like, you're gonna be like grandma. And I'm like, no, your mama gonna fight. Okay.
That's right.
And so mentally, it gave me strength, a lot of strength, because I went into prayer, because we are believers. Okay, so I'm gonna say I can't give my testimony without giving credit to God. I did go into fasting before the official results came, and I said, God, what do you want me to do? Give me direction. I cried, I laid down, and then God was like, you know, I felt at peace, and he's like, you're gonna change the narrative. I said, okay, what direction, how to eat, like, what do you want me to do? And then from there, he instructed me to eat raw fruits and vegetables. And, you know, like I said, I'm Caribbean.
It was hard.
Right. So they were telling me all these teas, the soursop, which was phenomenal. It did help. But God is like, I need you to have this dietary until what I tell you comes into reality. And so that's what I end up doing. So I end up eating raw fruits and vegetables, meditating, fasting for almost 90 days.
Wow.
And so when they did the imagery, they were so shocked to see that the cancer didn't grow at all.
Wow.
Like, as a matter of fact, it's like, it looked like it shrunk. So they were trying to take both breasts for surgery, and it was like, we don't even need to take one, we'll just take a little bit.
Wow.
And
do it.
Wow. And that was pretty much it. I still had to do radiation and everything. And the time came when she had to say, even a doctor with her own mouth was like, I can't explain it. Yeah. So in my head, I'm just like, okay, God, is this it? Is this it? And she was just like, I can't explain it. Like, there's like, you don't have to come to treatment anymore. I said, okay, thank you for your services. Yeah. I just got up, got in the hallway. My husband and I, we cried. We thanked God first. Because it was such a challenging journey, especially mentally. We have to fight thoughts saying that, you know, the thoughts are like, oh my God, plan for your funeral. Yeah. Oh my God. You know, once the family heard that I was, you know, I had breast cancer, immediately, because they buried 5 women in my family already. Wow. So already they were triggered. They was just like, okay, all right, let's prepare. And then I said to my husband, you know what?
Actually, I love how you said, you know, you had to learn how to rest, because that's not something that comes easy. And even for me, like, I had to, one, when you're a mom, and 2, when you are a disciple of God, and 3, when that means that you have big purpose on your life and you're doing a lot. Like, it's not easy to rest, and I think that is also a testament to us. Like, you have to pay attention to your body, and it's only in rest that you'll be able to understand what's happening in your body, because that's when you felt something was wrong, because you actually took a minute to like sit down and pay attention and listen to your body. So that's something that I definitely feel like, as a whole, as a Black community, especially with immigrant parents, when you're first generation, we're taught that it's go, 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 but it's like, no, we need to learn how to slow down and listen. And also, I love how you talked about, you know, once you found out about the diagnosis, you decided, no, like, we're doing something about it, instead of getting into agreement with the idea of death.
Oh, absolutely.
Because even your family, right? Because you just mentioned how, like, oh, like, they're like, okay, let's prepare. And you're like, no, hold a minute. My life is not ending here.
Absolutely.
And I think that's so important, though, because, you know, in health, we talk about the physical stuff. We talk about that stuff, but we don't talk about the spiritual side.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you feel yourself going on a downward trend, you cannot get into agreement with the fact that you're going in a downward trend. You need to be able to analyze it, snap out of it, and just like you did, God, what do I need to do? What do you know about my body? What do you know about this healing process? And be obedient to that. Because even in that, as we're talking about the spiritual side of things, you still focused on the physical. Right? Because you understand that you're in a human body.
Absolutely.
And God was able to lead you through that and teach you, okay, what does your body actually need? So I really love that.
Thank you so much. And just to chime in a little bit, I think we do so well with praying, going to conference, leaving things at the altar, but then we don't pick up the peace and joy that we need. When the Bible said to renew your mind, like I had to renew my mind every day. The moment I wake up and notice, okay, I gotta go treatment, I had to cultivate a playlist. I had to declutter my space. I couldn't even share some news with my family because I didn't want them to project their fears into my faith. And so I was very intentional about absolutely everything, even the vessel, even what I eat. Like before surgery, I went on a 5K run. One thing I said,
I'm so proud of you.
One thing I said, I was like, I'm not gonna let this disease steal my peace, my joy, like not, because I was on that journey with my mother and I saw what dying in Christ looks like, but I also saw that she never gave up. The doctor gave her a diagnosis of a year. She ended up doing 2 years. And that's something the nurse told me. The nurse is like, if you make up in your mind that you're going to win, your body is going to push towards that thought. So renewing your mind and claiming the promises that God speaks over your life is so important. It's just not praying about it, but faith without works is dead. It's actually work, like walking towards it. So when I got the diagnosis, one thing after I cried, I said to my husband, I was like, we ain't gonna let this disease steal our joy, our peace. So we planned trips. I did a 5K run. I was just like living life.
We're planning to continue.
Exactly. And when my son saw that, he joined into the fast with me. And he was just like, yeah, Mom. So, and he helped me with my second son. I had a doula. Like, I had my community. I had my village. I was so grateful for, which gave me time to really focus on my healing. I always say the fight is fixed, but you still gotta fight.
As a pastor's wife and also as a woman of faith, how do you find balance between, the spiritual side of things, praying while also paying attention to like the fact that we are human? Because we always talk about how, if we have an issue or there's a challenge, we just pray on it. But we talked earlier about like how faith without works is dead. How do you find that balance? Because it's like we know it, but we don't create that balance.
So before I used to be like, oh, we're going to pray it out, we're going to fast. And then you get directions in the fast, and then you still go back in that cycle. It was something when I went through the journey of cancer that clicked, where I was just like, faith without works. What is your works? And I always say, how can you show God how God is good to you if you're neglecting what He gave you? And so I always tell my parishioners, I always tell, especially my elders, because they really love their sugar. Let me tell you, they love their lemonade, and they love their salt
and their coffee with it.
Right. And so I had a nutritionist that came and taught them how to read a label. And they realized that they were getting triple the amount of sugar. And then they get excited. It's like, oh, I learned. So I put it back. Blah, blah, blah. So just doing simple changes like that. And then they're like, oh yeah, I feel better. The doctor said, oh, my blood sugar is at a better level. I'm like, you see, you've been praying for 20 years and look at how that simple
practicality. We need the practical side of things.
Yes.
We're spiritual beings, but we're spiritual beings in human bodies, right?
In human bodies.
Even like with God, right? A lot of the work that He wants to do, He uses humans to do it.
Absolutely.
So it's like, number one, I feel like for me, right, to also answer that question, I think we have to use our bodies as vessels, right? Be intentional about that. Why does he tell us to take care of ourselves as vessels? And it's because we can't do a thing if we're not taking care of what's inside. Yes, he might have given you purpose, and he might have had you start that business, he might have had you raising that family, but how are you going to do it if you're not taking care of the engine that he's allowing you to borrow, right, to be able to go do these things? Because it doesn't even belong to us, right? And so I also love how you have them excited. Yes. Because the fact that they're going out and they're also reporting back to you, because you know sometimes when you give somebody advice and they're just like, you never hear about it again.
Oh no, they hit me up on the WhatsApp. Okay, they hit me up on the WhatsApp and they'll send me a video and they be like, oh, this is what I do, because we do this. There's this thing that we have seasoning, green seasoning that we have. And sometimes they will put like a Maggie in it. I'm like, Maggie is MSG. Like, what are we doing that? Why are we
Wait. So for our Haitians, what should they be using instead of Maggie cubes?
No, you don't even need to use Maggie because the flavor of what you put, it's already has its own flavor.
And you let it sit.
You let it sit. You let it marinate. I feel like when you add Maggie, that's like in my head, I was like, that is a lot of sodium.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm thinking. And so going through that journey, I'm just like, if we say our body's a temple, how do you take care of your temple? Like
with honor.
Exactly. You treat it, you understand how fragile it is, you understand how powerful it is, you understand that the presence of the Lord resides in it, and therefore you know you can't consume anything. You can't consume anything physically and spiritually.
Wait,
right?
Can we touch on that? And this might kind of like go into a different lane. So it's the same thing, right? Where we talk about, you know, being abstinent or refraining from like alcohol and drugs. And it's like, it's not just to keep you from not doing things that might be fun or enjoyable to you, but it's just like, you are meant to be a clean vessel. Yeah. And there's a reason behind that. So it's not just about, oh, don't do this, don't do that. No, be intentional. Like, recognize you are so valuable. You hold so much virtue that you don't want to taint that. Exactly. And I feel like a lot of people, you know, there might be people where we call them hype maintenance, where they don't allow certain people in their atmosphere. Okay, but when you're at home, what are you allowing in your body? Right. Like a whole pint of ice cream. A whole box of pizza. Right. So like, what are we talking about? Right.
Like, I have a story. It's so funny. So I went to Dubai, I think it's like 5 years ago, and I was in the bathroom, and there was this woman fixing her hijab. But when she took her hijab, her like everything off, she was so gorgeous. I was just like, give me your routine. And when she started talking to me, and mind you, my husband was waiting out, my best friend was taking pictures, selfie. But I was just like sitting and, you know, getting like information. She's like, I drink water. I do my juices. I work out. She's like, I serve my community. I go to the temple.
Because, okay, we can talk about the glow up from like drinking the water, having the green juices, whatever. But when you're living a life with purpose and intention, and you're filled with the Holy Spirit, that glow exudes off of you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And she said something and it stuck with me ever since. She's like, how can I show the world how my Allah is good if I neglect what he gives me?
Yeah.
I said, thank you.
The first thing that I teach my clients about their skin is like, you can chase these products and all of that, but the real glow happens when you're taking care of your health and you're spiritually rested, you're spiritually nourished, like you're taking care of the things that people don't talk about. Yeah. You can't just keep covering something up. No, like you have to go deep inside and then you glow from the inside out.
Like ever since then, I've been on that journey, and that was before cancer, and that's when I started like, what's rest is about, and realized there's different forms of rest. There's emotional rest, there's spiritual rest, there's social rest, there's all these type of rest, I think 7 forms. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, I thought it was just laying in the bed. It's like, no, you gotta be present. You gotta read a book. What are your hobbies? What did God say? What is the vision that God has over your life? Have you walked towards it, or have you been serving in 10 different places because you want to be in the spotlight? So it's just all of this, and that Muslim woman just sat me down and just told me about myself. I was like, you do too much. Yeah. Slow down. So no, my boundaries are so strong. Like if it doesn't align with the vision that God has given me, I'm not with it.
Yeah. One major thing that I'm hearing even now, like as you're talking, is your village.
Yes.
Right? And I think that's a place where most of us struggle is because we're so used to doing it alone. Sometimes we don't have a village, but sometimes we have a village and we don't utilize our village. And so I want to say to you, like, how important was that, right? Being able to have your support system, even your son, right? Because it's interesting, I'm a mom, right? And I know the love that you feel, you must have felt when your son is like, okay, like I'm gonna help take care of you, you know what I mean? And help take care of my sibling and really like join in on this. Like, what was that like for you?
I can say that it was a struggle in the beginning. It was a struggle because as Black women, we don't like, I'm not gonna generalize it, but most of us don't like asking for help.
Yeah. A lot of the ones I know, even me, I don't even like asking for help.
We carry that stereotype of the super woman type, and sometimes we have no choice but to be strong. And so for me, asking for help, understanding who my villagers were and understanding who was in my community. Because I feel like your village, your people in your village keeps you in line and your community keeps you engaged, right? And so understanding my village, who did not just look at me just being a pastor's wife, who just not look at me just being an entrepreneur, but just saw me for me. They didn't ask me, like, what do you want me to do? They just jump right in. There are times where I couldn't pray. They just covered me. They just, in the middle of the night, they call me, hey, I'm going to pray for you. Or they send prayers in a voice note. They come in and they do, we're going to do a getaway. And sometimes I do, like, you know, fatigue was the issue there. Because I was so tired after treatment. I didn't have much of an appetite. But they was just like, no. Some of them even got into the journey of eating raw fruits and vegetables with me. Just to make, you know, just to give me that boost. So it's so important. I would say, listen, you know, there's a thing called like closed mouth don't get fed. Like you need to speak. You need to speak up. And when I'm reviewing case, even for the mortality, the maternal mortality, a lot of these deaths that I'm reading are so preventable. All they had to do was to call for help. All they had to do was to like book that appointment. All they had to do is not feel like they were a burden. Because I feel like that was the struggle for me for asking for help, because I didn't want to feel like a burden. Because I needed help walking. I needed help, because I was so tired all the time. I need help. But then it was just like, no, we signed up for this. And I had to be open to that and be like, yeah, you signed up for it. You're right. So I'm going to cash that check. So I need help. I need to go to this. Are you going to do the 5K run with me? And they did. It was like 8 of us that decided to do the 5K walk and run. And so it was just, you got to be open to the help, because healing is on the other side of you exposing what you're struggling with.
That's so good. Like, and I think that makes me go deeper too, because it's like literally so many things could be prevented. So many, because even outside of the Black community, there are a lot of people who struggle with that. And sometimes it's like we're running this rat race. And it's like, no, maybe just like, I'll do it tomorrow, then I'll do it tomorrow, then I'll do it tomorrow. But it's like, all you could have done was make that phone call to the doctors, book your appointment, have yourself checked out, and you could have actually still, you know what I mean? Like some people could have actually still been here. So that is profound in itself. We talked a lot about, your diagnosis and what rest began to look like for you. So with that in mind, how did you come to, the revelation that you needed to start your business, the retreat company?
You know what's the funny story about this? So I'm turning 47 this year. And I was looking towards retirement, okay? And 4 years ago, God put this in my heart and said, I want you to build something for my children, because my children are suffocating. So I was just like, I don't know nothing in wellness, because this was before cancer. I was like, I don't know nothing in wellness. I'm finding a hard time to rest as a wife, entrepreneur, I'm going to work, being a mom. And so I was like, I'm still learning myself. I'm one of those people, if I'm teaching something, if I'm talking about something, I got to be patient zero. That's what I said to God. Never crossed my mind that 2 years later that I'll be battling cancer. So
it's like, I'm gonna take you for a ride.
yeah. And so last year, actually, I said I'm going to do a book launch, a coloring book launch, because during my journey, I needed something to keep my mind was on, I was so intentional what I thought. Every thought I really had to dissect it to make sure it doesn't lead to a fear, it doesn't lead to certain things. So one of the things I like to really do to just keep my mind is to color, is to write. Yeah, so I was looking for a coloring book that had scriptures, that had biblical affirmations, and where I can write, because sometimes when you're still, God is speaking to you, you just need something. And it was just so hard to find it in one place. Yeah. So I created it. So I became obedient and said, okay, God, I'm all in. Last year I was like, okay, I'm all in. I say yes, because now I have this understanding what rest is like and what it should be. The reason why we're in a rat race is because we still don't know who we are. Yeah. And so we're spreading ourselves in 5 different ways, and we become stressful because we don't eat right. We don't rest, we don't move our body because we're on this rat race that no one called us to be in. But because of the social norm, we feel like we need to be in. Mm-hmm. And so I got myself out of that rat race, and the clarity, immaculate. Yeah. My blood pressure went down. I was on blood pressure pills because I was on the rat race. And 2 years, this month, in March, the doctor took me off of the blood pressure pills. Yeah. And I was in blood pressure pills for almost 5 years. Wow. And the doctor was like, yeah, you're going to be on it for some time. And I didn't agree. I'm just like, God, I need that healing, because Psalm 103 said you heal all diseases. Exactly. Not some, not certain, all. And the Holy Spirit is like, yeah, healing is yours, but you got to work for it. So that was a slap to me. I was just like, okay, so let's get to work. Yeah. The work looked like me going to the gym. The work looked like eating more protein, more fiber, more of God's food. Mm-hmm. Work looked like resting. Work looked like me increasing my water intake. Yeah. So I did that for 2 years, and I had to go to the doctor every 2 months for a checkup, for follow-up, just making sure I'm still okay. And she always document my blood pressure. And then finally, in March, she was like, Kayla, you've done the work. Wow. So when you go home, you can throw those pills away.
I love that.
I said, okay.
I love that.
I said, okay, say less. I said, say less. And I did that. And the thing is, you don't know what you're so capable of if you do the work, you be disciplined, and you get out of the rat race. Yeah.
And I love that. You can do it with me, right? With my clients, a lot of them are embarking on a health journey, on a wellness journey. And sometimes we just expect things to happen like this. Yeah. But it's no, you actually have to put in the work. But when you put in the work, God will do the rest for you.
Absolutely.
And one thing I firmly believe is God has wired us so perfectly that He created bodies for us that know how to repair themselves, right? When you give them the right environment. And so that's something that I'm constantly teaching even my clients. And honestly, I have to teach myself too. I have to remind myself, because even me, sometimes I have days where I'm just I just want this thing to be good already. I want energy, but at the same time I have so much stuff to do, and it's I can't rest. And you have to reframe your mind, right? Because it's who said you can't rest? Right. Because the belief that if you don't rest, XYZ won't get done means you're taking away your faith in what God can do while you're resting. Mm-hmm. Because when we go to sleep, He's still awake. Right. So, you know what I mean? No matter how fast I run, there's some things you just can't do. Right. Only God can do it for you. And I think that's what can allow us to have comfort in resting.
Absolutely. And I think God did it on purpose, because He doesn't share His glory with no one else. we are limited, right? We need to be dependent on him as believers. And I think the moment we get into this rat race, the moment we feel like we make our own decision, we got to be split in 10 different ways. It's just like, okay, now you're taking that dependence into yourself now and creating yourself as mini gods so you can do this, that, next, and the third. But it's like, you're gonna get burned out.
Yeah.
Like you can only go so far. I always say you can't do things of God without him.
Yeah. Because like you said, we put that complex on us. Like
right.
as the women, right? We put this superwoman complex on us. But it's like there's nobody that has the power the way that God has it. So it's like, why would you expect yourself to be able to do that thing without him? You're just relying on yourself.
Right.
So
absolutely.
So you mentioned a lot how food was medicine for you, right? And that's what really got you, that was one of the pivotal points that took you from, illness to health, right? So I know that you mentioned that God is actually the one who told you what to eat. So what are some foundational things that you have learned in that experience that you think other people need to know when it comes to eating healthier, using food as medicine?
So there's certain things I didn't realize I was addicted to. Like sugar.
Yeah.
And I know everything has sugar, but I'm talking about like the sodas, the desserts, and I'm not saying no one can have that, but the way I was eating it, because I was always in a rush, I was always in the go, so I didn't have time to cook, I didn't have time to really research, I didn't even know what my blood type was. Wow. And through this journey, I got to know my blood type, what my body can digest, and it was based on the dietary what God gave me, right? And I also realized after sitting with a nutritionist that understood my journey and telling me, you gotta shop outside the perimeter of the grocery store. Inside
that's where the good stuff is.
Right. She's like, inside the aisles, the sugars, all of this that's not really good for you, but outside the produce, like everything, like you should keep eye on that. And I realized, okay, so your plate should have more greens, more proteins, more fiber. Exactly. So I started to learn and I started to eat. I lost over like 40 pounds and I was able to really like get more energy. I got my life on track. It's such an enlightening moment when you start eating healthier. It doesn't always taste good. I would say that in the beginning because your body's so used to the sugar. But once you start doing it more consistently is the key. Yeah. You realize, oh my God, I'm getting energy. I got this boost of energy. Because that was the one thing I was really struggling with was my energy. Because after going through radiation, after going through all these treatments, I felt like my energy, my fatigue was so like, But going to the gym, eating the right food that gives me energy, like there was a difference. Yeah. And so I'm just like always energized. And my doctor's like, what is happening? I was like, I don't need any pills because I'm just doing everything so naturally. And I've been doing it consistently. Wow. Because I think a lot of time we want a quick fix. Yes. So that's why we get into like the pills and stuff like that. But I'm not against pills, but what I'm saying is good to do both. Yeah. Getting your body aware and used to God's natural food. Yeah. Even for myself, I take supplements and I recommend supplements, but the best way that you can get your nutrients is through your diet, right? Even with skincare, right? I always tell my clients, the ingredients that they're using in products are ingredients that you can get from your food. Yeah. And people don't realize that a lot of ingredients in different products that we use on our bodies or even as supplements are naturally derived and concentrated. So that way we can put them on our body or in our body. And it's like, so imagine if you just eat these foods, on their own. From your experience working in the Department of Health, being in public health and, working on the board that you do, what are some disparities that you've noticed we experience in the Black community? So much to start. Number one, there is a difference between like the Roxbury and the Back Bay, right? And one of the things is access to quality food is one. So it's not just a theory. No, it's not. It's not a theory. Lately, I just the research a few weeks ago and my mind was like blown. So the life expectancy based on 2024, it was like mid 50s in Roxbury, whereas in Somerville it was in the 80s. And it's just but the median income for Roxbury, I think it was like almost 49,000, whereas in Somerville it was 149,000.
Wow.
Right.
So your income plays a big role on your life expectancy.
Yes, because more than half the people in Somerville in that area had their bachelor's, whereas in Roxbury it's not the same. And so access to quality food is a huge problem. As we can see, the Walgreens are closing down in certain areas.
Crazy.
So access to medication, and so the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, which is it's in our community, but can they afford that? Being the median income 48, so it's just so much, and there's liquor stores more in.
Let's not forget the marijuana, the dispensaries.
And that, and also fast food. So the farmers markets are doing what they can, but it's so much work. Whereas when you go to somewhere like Somerville or Back Bay, there's juice bar, there's smoothies bar, there's more organic things, Trader Joe's. There's all these things that they can have access to, whereas someone in Roxbury, they have to take 2 buses and a train to get access to it. Sometimes the motivation is not there. They come from work, they're already working hard, and it's I don't have time. Just order a Domino's or order a Pizza Hut or something. So to them, it's just they're already struggling with energy coming from work and So that's one of my biggest problems. It's just that being in being in proximity to healthier options is a problem.
Yeah, and also not to mention even if they were in proximity, a lot of those places are way more expensive.
Absolutely.
So it's not only do they now have to take 2 buses, you're spending money on transportation, but now you have to spend even more money than you would trying to obtain these things, right? And so I think, and maybe this is something, maybe we can partner on this, but because I'm the thing that I think about, right, is I have a juicer, I make juice at home, but I'm also a student, I'm a mom, I'm a business owner, and sometimes I don't have time to spend an hour making juices for the week, you know what I mean? And so it's nice to be able to have those places that you can just go to, but also why are we charging $11 for green juice? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so definitely, the cost is definitely one of the stressors. And when you have chronic stress based on the environmental factors, it brings hypertension. It brings all these diseases. I would say stress is a silent killer, which attracts so many things, because there are people that are struggling and they want to do right, but they can't afford to. And so it's just listening and just reading these data, and now we're finding ways where we can partner up with a nonprofit to see if we can do this. We can give access to certain people that can't come to the clinics. Okay, we'll get your Uber. That is already scarce. Wow. But there are resources out there, but sometimes people don't know.
So let's touch on that. What are those resources?
I work with an organization called RAP. It's called Wellness Recovery After Early Psychosis. And what my job is to go out there in the community and basically help the people that have been disengaged to get back engaged. And sometimes that looks okay, I don't have money for bus or train. Okay, so we have trolley cards, or I don't have I don't know what my insurance. Okay, so I'll come with you to the hospital and we sit with the financial person to help you get on these things. Because a lot of times it's just it's not that they don't want to, they just don't know that it's available. Whether you have a social worker or a case manager, when you go to a hospital and they're asking all these questions, a lot of times people just say, oh no, do you need it? Because when you go, because I remember vividly. When I go for a checkup, they ask, "Oh, do you need help with light bills? Do you need help with it?" Sometimes you don't want to feel like
no.
Right, we say no, like because we don't want to be a burden.
Yeah.
But and I'm just like, they're asking. There are resources that can help you. Like BMC has a food pantry on the first floor.
But I think there's also fear in like, one, people knowing your business, and
yeah.
two, like, what does that mean? Because I think as Black mothers, they can be very protective, right? And for me, like, I know when I first ever saw that question, I was like, okay, well, if I don't, are you guys gonna take my child away from me?
Right.
So I feel like it's those thoughts, and maybe if because doctors will give you the iPad with the questions and leave you alone. But I feel like if we have more open discussion about like, okay, what are these questions actually for?
Absolutely.
That could take us a long way.
That's where I come in. I mean, not a lot of hospitals have what BMC, well, that order that you have. So this is where I come in and kind of bring it to you to lessen that fear and that barrier for you. Because I know a lot of time, we grew up with what goes in the house stays in the house. And like
even on the doctor's we can't even tell the doctors what's going on.
So it looks like who you banging out here like. So, but what I'm saying that these resources are there for that reason, is to help you. Let me tell you, our current partner, they're taking every resources that they can. Okay,
they have no shame.
No shame. So like in their game at all.
One thing I want to say, I think that the Black community needs to shift with is, we need to believe that we're deserving of certain things. We've been getting it on our own, but it's like we don't have to do that. And we had to at a certain point, but now there are so many initiatives in the world that we actually don't know about, right? And we can talk about how the Black community is stagnant here and it's stagnant there, but we don't see the people who are actually planting seeds and trying to help us move from that and actually progress from where we started. And there are things happening, and I feel like we need to remember that we're deserving of the help. We're deserving not just on a bigger level, like with government resources or even, community resources, but even in your own circle, right? Going back to the conversation we had earlier about how important your village is. Yes. We can't be so afraid or think like we're a burden. We deserve to be helped, because there's also a lot of, the same way that we're so willing to help other people and put ourselves on the back burner, there are people who are willing to do that for us just because they love us and they care about our well-being,
Absolutely. Like, it's important I would say you want healing, you gotta expose the area. Because you can't just get healing without exposing it. It needs to be out there. People need to know. They don't. Sometimes, like, even when you're going through something and your friend was like, why you didn't say nothing? And you're like, well, I didn't want it. To them, it's like, we signed up for this. So I think it's important that we, like you said, we need to shift and that mentality of just like what stays in the house, what goes in the house stays in the house, and not asking for help. We're like dying.
No, we're dying.
We're like
it's causing a problem.
Like, our life expectancy every year is getting shorter. Like, it's getting shorter and shorter. Like, we out there, we're making money, but we're not living long enough like our parents.
That's so good
to really enjoy it, because all these factors, all these stress that you're carrying, you're not resting, you're afraid for help, and you put in the burden, like, you actually are suffocating yourself.
That's so true. So it was a pleasure having you. I love this chat. So I want them to be able to find you. So let them know what your handle is on like Instagram or any other platforms.
Okay, so I will put a find Chris. I will get better on the socials. I will get better. So my social is Lady K. And then my business is Respire Retreat.
And website?
Yes, www.KatlyneLouis.com.
And that is a wrap. Thank you guys for tuning in. Bye.